Good morning, everybody. This is Eric Severson coming to you again from a beautiful backyard, which, believe it or not, is in Jersey City, New Jersey, but we've got enough lovely trees out here. Looks like we're really out here in the woods, so lucky to have this and glad to have you with me. So, start off again. This is the orange pineapple iced tea I've been brewing every day. So, cheers, skol, salute, whatever floats your boat. Today I want to talk to you about this news that Governor Cuomo is talking about relying on the Gates Foundation and partnering with Bill Gates. So I'll read you the tweet that first informed me. One of the best people I know on Twitter said, "God help us" about this. So Governor Cuomo says New York State will be working with the Gates Foundation to develop a blueprint to reimagine education in New York State in a post-COVID-19 world. And he's been making some pretty scary comments about saying that, the in-person classroom is obsolete and that we need to be transitioning towards more of this online learning, which, those are things that the so-called reformers have been talking about for years, as far as de-emphasizing in-person education and moving to this online model. And now that, that they're going to tout the successes of this online education, which is not to say there haven't been some benefits to being able to communicate with students online and, do Google Classroom and Google Hangouts and all of that. But I can tell you from personal experience, there's, no substitute for in-person education when, I've been doing for years this online class called Apex, where the students are free to work at their own pace from home, and they just log into a website and do these modules and videos. And yeah, nearly every student, they still, come to me with questions, and they have, need an in-person explanation. And just hearing it from me, who can translate it from the, sort of computerese talk to plain English, that's, students still need that. Even if you're, working with the technology, there's no substitute for person-to-person instruction. So found this article yesterday that's from a few years ago from the Washington Post, which, if you don't know, is owned by Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. So if they're going to censor anything that's critical of billionaires, they'd be the ones to do it. But here's something that they said about, so far the results of the Gates Foundation being involved in education. So through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the two have poured far more money into education projects than any other individuals in the world, at least $2 billion over the past few decades. They've used their information to leverage public money to support pet projects and worked with the Obama administration to implement standardized test-based policies. And this goes on to talk about online learning and the textbook becoming obsolete, which is an interesting way of putting it, because even adults who grew up before the internet, I've heard people say that there's no substitute for a paper book, and that a physical textbook is easier to to focus on and to stay, not be distracted by your social media and by everything else that's going to come up on the tabs of your computer or your iPad or whatever you're working with. So that's a very dubious proposition in and of itself. And so yeah, as far as the prior relationship, such as it is with the Gates Foundation, Gates is supporting all of this Common Core and Race to the Top, and all of this, states have to compete to completely rewrite their curriculum in the way that's going to be friendly to the money that's going to be donated from people such as him. And it's really, there have been zero results, and even Gates himself has admitted that. So far as having to go to him hat in hand to ask for support through private money, that is not a good model for public education going forward. And yeah, as far as out-of-touch billionaires thinking they know better, think about everything we went through with the school closings under Bloomberg, and this guy saying, "Oh, I'm a businessman. I know how to run the budget and know how to, save the city from job losses." And we saw how that went. Or the, Zuckerberg putting all this money into Newark, and again, zero results. Ask any teacher in Newark, ask any parent or student there. All this money on, top-down programs that do not actually mesh with what the people on the ground will inevitably tell you they need if you only ask them. So that's fundamentally what we need to be thinking about here is, if billionaires like, Gates, Zuckerberg, Bloomberg, any of them want to support schools and want to be there for us, then I say they can pay more in taxes, they can give directly to our teachers' choice and help us buy more supplies. But they can be a source of funding, sure, but as far as directing the policy, as far as somebody who, writes all these Microsoft Windows programs that are constantly full of bugs and need to be upgraded 50 times to even have something that works decently, that's not something I trust. That's not a model that's going to work well. So we need to be deeply suspicious of this, and we need to be thinking about how do we push back, how do we put forward our own agenda in terms of the funding that we need, and not just relying on the rich folks that think they know better than us, who are actually in the trenches and in the classroom, how to do this. So that's both my opinion and my suggestion going forward, is that we consider how do we do it better ourselves. And close with this is from the Iron Tower trilogy fantasy series that I read as a kid. There's a quote in there about, it's like asking a dragon for help warming your house. He would warm it all right down to the very ashes. I feel like asking Bill Gates, somebody who's, inherently going to be pro privatization, pro just whatever technology he can push into the schools that's going to make him money, and not, and somebody who's too arrogant to even ask the people on the ground what they need. That is not what we need going forward, and that is deeply problematic, and we need to get our message out there and push back. So solidarity with all the educators out there who are working from home, or anybody out there that's working, trying to survive through this. Blessings to all. Have an excellent day. Bye-bye.